their first year in real estate? So a lot. Who here has five? Whoever's not in their first year, who has 5 years before? Okay. Anybody more than 5 years? Trish. Okay, because honestly, the last 5 years, for that to be your experience in real estate, we're moving into new territory right now. The market has definitely changed. And while it's still a strong seller's market, it's really important to be absolute partners with your seller clients to set yourself up for success. Because homes that are deemed move-in ready and are priced correctly are still selling very quickly. And you want to have listings because listings have babies. Listings are where you meet, where you get sign calls and where you meet more business, more so than when you're working with buyers. I mean, Laura and I work with both buyers and sellers, but listings generally tend to be a higher dollar per hour activity to do. So just to back up a minute, I'm Karen Downing. I'm with the Amanda Pullman team. I've been with Amanda almost 4 years, and so have been at KW Living for almost 4 years, and I just adore my team, and it's really been an environment that helped me to thrive. I was a single agent with Howard Hanna for 7 years before that, so that was fine, but you kind of don't know what you don't know, and so I've really found my spot where I could thrive and excel. Laura, when she comes in, I'll let her give her bio to you. One thing that's not on the slide deck, and I did slides so that I didn't have to bring any notes or anything. So these are my notes. One thing that Danielle wanted me to maybe touch on a little bit was how we prospect for business. And it's going to be different for everybody. I'll tell you how I do, and I think Laura and I are very similar in our modus operandi. I would say, especially this year, which happens to be my best year in 10 years in the business, 95% of my transactions are sphere referral, client referral, and agent referral. I would say 95% of my transactions this year from those sources, rather. I'm involved in my community, so I'm involved in different organizations within my community. I'm involved in my church. You know, there's all different kinds of activities and organizations that you can be a part of that really just spark relationships. This is a relationships business, right? Spark relationships, and also you can nurture relationships in a very non-salesy manner, and I think that's so important. I think that, you know, a big thing about, I think, Laura and me and really everybody on our team is that we have a lot of clarity on our why we do what we do. And not only that, but the value and the honor of serving others is, we wake up every morning thinking about that. Because honestly, I think you have to have that to really excel in this business. Some days, I mean, I love what I do. Some days I come home and I feel like I've got 50 arrows stabbed in me. I mean, you know what we go through, and we sometimes really rely on that clarity of our purpose and what we do to kind of get us through those really hard times. Another thing I think is, I know Laura and I feel the same. really love people. I genuinely love people, and I love having conversations with people, meeting new people, and everybody has some nugget, some interesting story about themselves. And I think just engaging, having conversations with people is just a great start. I do have access to some market report data through a company called Land Voice, and I'm partnered with a company called Place, which is a marketing and technology firm that's broker agnostic. They work with all brokerages, but they provide us with a lot of great tools. And they just bought this company called Remine, and it's super cool. You can actually do a map search, and they use different data points and algorithms that they give a sell score. So based on maybe how long somebody has lived in a home, what their outstanding mortgage balance is, what the rate they bought the house at, if they used a mortgage. So kind of identifies likely sellers. And then you call and you have a conversation, right? It's all conversation. And are you here for the Ignite? Come on in. It's all about having a conversation. And yes, there are scripts, for sure. There are scripts that you can use to get the right information that will help you. But truly, it is really about just having a conversation, providing value. You're not bugging people you call. I know we all get this hang up about, oh my gosh, I'm bugging them. Now I do strategically time my calls. It's actually proven that very first thing in the morning is a good time to call people. And at the end of the day, I think if people are working at the end of the day and they feel like they've got something accomplished, then they're more amenable to talk to you. So, but anyway, having said that, once you identify motivated, right? We don't want to spin our wheels. We want to talk to people who are likely to need our help, right? So part of this prospecting is identifying the motivated, people who are raising their, right? People who have a high likelihood of needing your services. And so pre-listing, I think, is something that I've been focusing on this year, because why not set yourself up for success? Why not do whatever you can to set yourself up for success at the appointment? Because even if you were referred by a friend or a past client, chances are they're probably going to talk to 2 to 3 agents. So here's what I've been doing. Before the appointment, you schedule 15 minutes to half an hour to talk on the phone, or you could Zoom, and kind of ask some deeper qualifying questions. So obviously, first and foremost is a seller's motivation, right? What is causing them to want to sell their house? Do they need to, or do they want to? Those are kind of 2 different animals. But you need to find out their motivation and their timeline and their expectations. You can really set yourself up for success if you ask, tell me about the qualities of the sales professional you are looking to hire. Like that, kind of doing your work for you is by having them tell you about that. Also, you're going to market and sell this home. So asking them to describe their home or their experience living in that home or what they've loved about living in that home is really going to help you at the appointment, kind of make sure you pay attention to things that you've heard them tell you about, but also help you market the house when you actually do win the listing. So after I usually try to not just ask one question and move on, actually try to go a few deep on a topic so that you can uncover and ask open-ended questions like, tell me about, or, oh, well, if you get to sell this house and move closer to your children, tell me, what would that mean to you? What would that look like to you? How would that change your life? Ask them, just try to elicit as much information as you can. Here's Laura. All good. All good. So then our team has kind of put together these really nice pre-listing packets that are specific to ourselves. They have our bio. I'll tell you about what they have in them, but you can either or both offer to drop this packet off, or you can send it electronically. And I think it's really important, if you're going to do this, to try to do what you can to get them to review the material, not just open it up when you're at the kitchen table with them. And so one thing you can say is, if you take some time and review this ahead of our appointment will be even more productive, right? We're just trying to save them time. So what is in this packet? And I wish I would have maybe brought one, but I didn't. We can, if you want to see one, we can certainly reach out to me and we can go over one even online. So obviously, who I am, who are we, and what I'll do for you. And I think Laura's going to kind of talk about what can you even do for me in her part of the presentation. A little bit about the company background, and whether you're a solo agent. If you're a solo agent, you can talk about your brokerage, your market center, who your support staff are, everything that is going to be ancillary to working with you. Reviews, they're great because they provide you with legitimacy. And honestly, if you're a new agent, you can actually ask a friend or a former colleague to write a review for you. You just can't say, write a review for me and pretend I helped you sell your house. But you can certainly, have a friend write a review about what an upstanding, reliable, conscientious, caring person you are, right? Your wow factor. I think our team stats speak for themselves. Every year we produce a slick that actually breaks down our sales, number of clients we serviced, our sales volume, where our business sources are. Really speaks to how impactful we are to so many people. And maybe you've identified a market niche, like downsizers, right-sizers. I mean, there are some people who work a lot with widows or divorcees, or maybe you serve a specific niche or an area, geographical area. And of course, depending on where your listing appointment is, you can kind of tweak it to reflect that. How we'll find the ideal buyer. What are our resources besides just something like reverse prospecting? We have, a network of agents. We have a CRM that has thousands of people in it that we can identify some right buyers. Professional network. Who do we know who can help you prepare the house? Contractors, stagers, people like that. And then you could also have other agents write a review, right? If you have great transactions with other agents, I'd be happy to write a review for an agent. I think that stressing how well you play in a sandbox with other agents and how you're there to help, you're there to help achieve a goal. And you do it by cooperating, right? As best you can and as honestly as you can with another agent. So, this kind of, I kind of got ahead of myself because don't have any notes. So you can hand deliver the pack or you can email it. And then even so I like video, and I think people like video because they get a sense of your personality, what your demeanor is. So I would just say, I would record like a bomb or just record. Hey, Tina and Holly, I'm so looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And, whatever, click and then send it so that you just have that connection. And you want to build anticipation and trust. So you want to obviously come off like you're kind and caring and know what you're talking about. Oh, I think this is Laura. She just left, didn't she? So up to this point, do you have any questions about anything that you've heard?
Can you just turn it back to the last one? Just last 4 seconds. Can you turn it back if you don't mind?
The last one?
Yes.
Okay. So this is that seller guide that I was telling you about that we have. And so after you've had your pre-appointment talk on the phone for like 15 to 30 minutes and gotten a lot of information from them, you then say, I'd like to share with you our seller guide that you can review ahead of our meeting, and we'll touch upon any questions that you have from the seller guide. Can I drop it off for you, depending on where you are and depending on what they want, paper copy, or can I email it to you electronically? Sure. Let me just good. All right. So Laura has disappeared momentarily. What's that? 5 minutes? Oh, okay. All right. So
I got a question about the video text. What does that mean?
yeah. So I just like to have some kind of memorialized, like, hey, Tina and Holly, this is Karen. I'm so excited to meet with you tomorrow. I'll see you at 5 at 123 Main Street. Please take a minute to review the guide that I sent you, and also feel free to reach out with any questions that you have ahead of our meeting. That's it. You video, you have your face, and you send it. Yeah. So I do a lot of video because I just think it kind of makes you relatable.
Yeah, pre-recorded videos, just send that post on my phone.
I would, yes, I would absolutely do on a case-by-case basis. Yeah. So I think that's something. So Laura and I were on a Zoom with a coach called Justin Nelson, and he's out of Salt Lake City and he works for Spring Benson's team. And he gave us the idea about the video, and he impacted Laura and I quite a lot. And we actually went to see him at an event in Salt Lake City earlier this year. So I think it's also something that not many people are doing, videos, because they're uncomfortable. And we all learn it first, right? But I think you just got to get over, you look the way you look and you sound the way you sound. And you just got to be okay with that. But when COVID happened and we shut down, the day we shut down was, I think it was St. Pat's Day. And I was sitting in my house and I was thinking, oh my gosh, people are going to flip out on one of the biggest nights of the year. We're all stuck at home. So I did a live And I did it for 6 months, every Tuesday. It's called Tipsy Tuesday. And we got together and I cooked something and we had a cocktail. And like, it just was a great connection at the time. But honestly, still people talk about it to this day. And there's just something about, there's something about video that's just is a real connection. So, anybody else?
Someone from our team will be at tomorrow's meeting that we could look through your seller's packet.
Oh, so I probably will be there. Yeah, I have a contractor coming to my house this morning, so I think I'll there. Yeah. Just in time.
Hi. Hi, everybody. First of all, I just want to tell you, I drove from the west side to Solon through road closures, thinking, okay, I'm gonna get there at 5:20. I'm texting Karen. I'm like, 5:29. Oh my God. And you know how hard it is to get into our office. And I pull up, there's no cars.
I did that last week.
There's no cars. So I'm thinking they're all parked in the back because they closed the front door. So I take another 5 minutes, I go around at the back and there's plenty of cars and the door is locked. And then I call Karen and she says, oh, you're in the wrong place. And I almost just started to cry. So I thought, oh my God, well, it's another 30 minutes. And of course, 77 South is closed. So I got to go around. So anyways, I'm here. Thank you so much. And Karen, I'm really sorry. I missed your presentation, but I wanted to start off first, just a little interactive show of hands. How many of you have been in the business for a year or less? Did you already do it? Oh, she stole my thunder. But I'd like to see a year or less. Okay. And how many of you have been 5 years or less? Okay. How many of you have listed property? That's good. It's really hard to get listings when you're starting. I would say in an expansive market, it is a lot easier to get listings. And in a contracting market, it is much harder because most people want to rely more on known quantities, sign recognition, websites, all of these things. So I got into the business in 2006, very different time. Many of you might not even have been born. And it was like the heyday of real estate, similar to what happened during COVID. I mean, things were just going full on. And I worked my way into development. So my first job was nothing but listings, which was very unusual. And I listed a property in Cleveland Heights, the Bluestone community. Have any of you ever been there, seen it? Okay, you know I'm real. Okay, so when we listed it, it was 98 properties. So I get launched into real estate, 98 listings. Now, please keep in mind, they weren't all active on the MLS because we first had to build the community. So we built a sales center and then we put our first cluster building up of 7 units, then another 7, and then our first loft building, which had 21 units. So over the course of those 2 years, I had roughly, 30 to 40 active listings, which made me feel like, incredible. However, we didn't have one built until 2007. And then the market started to, we didn't know it was crashing. But it was showing signs of contraction. And agents that have been in the business forever, 20, what I consider forever, 20, 30 years, were like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just a little market hiccup, yada, yada, yada. And in 2008, the complete, blow up of our economy and the real estate world happened. And I was an unusual person in that I had a paid position from the developer and Howard Hanna at the time. Really unusual. So I was getting paid by the broker, paid by the developer. I was like living fat. And then in August of 2008, 599,000 people in America lost their jobs, and I was one of them. So I was crying. I didn't know what to do. My brokerage, they had divorced, so the developer was with a smaller broker, who, by the way, ended up getting indicted and going to federal prison for fraud. But that was, I took my license and moved back to Howard Hanna before that happened. But nevertheless, I went to my manager, my old manager at the Howard Hanna Cleveland Heights office, crying and said, Richard, I don't know what to do. And he's like, oh, you've got a great name. People know you. They love you. Don't worry. Just switch your license back. And this was his advice. He was like, just get out there. And has anybody just gotten out there? Yeah. So the very first listings I was able to obtain as a new transitioning agent who didn't even know what the contract looked like, because I was working off a builder contract, was challenging. And the first listing I got was a referral from an agent who was leaving the business. Something that I think, we're probably going to see a lot of if we haven't already. Yeah. So, the roster is probably going to trim back down. And it's kind of like the Darwinian theory in real estate, the strong will survive. And that's why listings are so important. Imagine going into a store that has no inventory, because that's what you are if you're an agent that doesn't carry any listings. And I'm sorry to say that, I never want to offend anybody, and I started out really as a buyer's agent. When I made that transition, I did get a couple listings. I had to pay referral fees, which was fine. And they were terrible listings, but they were challenging. It was challenging. 2008 was like really hard. The government had enacted the $8,000 buyer tax credit, which was the only thing that kept us afloat. And that went on for 2 years. You're shaking your head. So
I
3
did
years.
taxes back then.
Yeah. So a buyer, if they bought a house, would get an $8,000 federal tax credit. So that's kept the market from just completely imploding. And so I made it through that, and then slowly through organic reach, really building, trying to build a listing based business. And I'll never forget this because I had a side hustle, and because I needed money. And so the side hustle, I worked 2 days a week at my previous career, was my part-time, again, job. And I remember an agent in my office who was so successful. And I would, follow him around. What is he doing? And one day I said to him, "How did you get that listing on my street? On my street, like on that street? I know those people." And he looked at me and he said, "Well, unfortunately, people think of you as a part-time agent." And my heart just sank, because I recognized that unless I really changed that, I was going to really struggle. I was on the massive struggle bus. So if any of you are on the struggle bus today, just know that, here I am. It's 2025. It's almost 20 years that I've had my license. And, I've been able to have a reasonable amount of success. But I would say that everybody pretty much starts out really more as a buyer's agent, because it's usually the fastest way. Would you guys agree? It's usually the fastest way to pick up a client, get an agreement signed, now that we have to do that, which I think is really important and safeguards you from somewhat wasting time. And then you go out, and from that reach, you will eventually get other clients. So what happened for me, and probably happened for Karen, is we got buyers, we ran them, we sold them homes, and then sometimes a year or two later, they're selling their property. And hopefully you've kept that connection and they're going to reach out to you. So I know I just went on a tangent there, but I think it's just important to note that all of us, it's not the easiest business to get started. And if you make the effort, I believe, by number one, and I'm doing this myself, so full accountability. I got my first video back today where I'm actually starting. Oh my God, I'm starting a YouTube channel. It feels so trite because it's like, who hasn't done that? But I'm gonna give it a go, because I feel like that is really the arena that we have to enter. Everybody's online. I mean, when I got started, that wasn't even a thing. I mean, really, it wasn't. Zillow wasn't even a thing. And now Zillow gets 188 million views like a minute or something. And it's expensive, right? So we have to find other ways to use our money in the best way, use our time in the best way, and build some kind of a real online presence. So I think everybody can do that. I think everyone has the tools to do that. I look at agents that are succeeding at a high level that don't have a lot of time in the business, and they're listing properties, and I look and I think, what do they do? And then I look and they have a tremendous online presence. So I just think we can't understate how important that is. Karen, how do you do this?
Oh,
Because I've never done this before.
where's that?
Click, you just click? Okay.
Yeah, but
Click.
you know what, this
This is
presentation
gonna take me to the
doesn't,
right place?
it doesn't have,
Okay.
doesn't have a lot of slides.
That's okay.
Right.
So when you go and you get the opportunity to meet a seller and you've done what Karen talked about, that pre-listing presentation is the most important change I made in the last 12 months. I made it because I listened to a gentleman who I'm going to talk about for a second, talk to us as a team. He is a powerful speaker. This guy's like goes out, lifts weights in the parking lot. I'm not joking. Karen can, he goes out, he does like 100 push-ups before he gets up on stage, and he's got a massive voice and he just booms at you. But he says some really profound stuff, and it's all applicable. And so he talked about the pre-listing presentation. He's like, why would you show up at an appointment when you haven't already sent them or dropped something off, telling them about who you are at the bare minimum, who you are, what you can do, etc. The pre-listing call is so important because we have to engage people with questions. And the key to everything in real estate is asking the right questions. And what he posed, which was to me like mind-blowing, he said, how many simple words? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 words. Can you even help me? And think about that, because that's what our clients are thinking when we walk in the door. If we're not prepared, if we're not ready to go, we're not on time. And on time means early. Pull up in front of the house, I don't know, 5 minutes early, stalk them if you have to. But when you walk in the door and you greet them, and I always let clients, I kind of follow their lead, where do they want to sit? But I always ask for something. I ask for a and I learned that from somebody, I don't even know who I could credit it to. I think it's Jeff Glover. He's like, you sit down and then you ask them to get you something, because it kind of like switches the power a little bit. So and you ask for your glass of water and then you think to yourself, you know, it's go time. And these people want to know, can I even help them? And then we launch into our not our but our pre to active listing presentation questions. So I'm not sure how many of those you went through. Did we dialogue at all about that?
Well, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it's to play. Do I have any volunteers? All right. Okay. So you are Mr. Seller. Don't make me look bad. What is your name?
Luke.
Lucan? Oh, Luke. I can't hear you. Okay, Luke. So I'm coming into your home and we're sitting down at the table. Hey, Luke. I'm so grateful that you gave me this opportunity to come see you today and tour your beautiful house. I've done that. And thank you so much for showing me that, panic room in the basement and that you lock your kids in your walk-in closet, just a little levity. And what's most important to me is to find out what is most important to you in this journey. Obviously, we know you want to sell your home, but what's the most important thing for you?
Getting top dollar.
Getting top dollar. Okay, well, that's a really good answer, Luke. Thank you. And Steve, have you researched, homes in your area?
I am.
Yeah. Okay, and what do you see from your competition?
That mine is updated nicer. And
Better.
that's what
Yours is better, right? Yeah, like so much better. Everybody's house is so much better. It's the best. So I'm really curious, what's your timeline?
As soon as possible.
Okay, so if we could have a photographer here in a day or two and you're signing the paperwork today, we can get you active on the market in 3 days.
I'm not signing to me what you can do for me. How are you going to do it?
Oh, well, we're going to get to that. So let me ask you, when you say you want top dollar and you're looking at your house and you're comparing it to others around you, did you notice that your home is actually 1,000 square foot smaller than the highest comp in the area?
Yeah, but the kitchen's updated, the bathroom's fenced.
Yes, but space still matters. We have to agree. So updates are important, but overall space still matters, and that relates to square footage price. And so when we're pricing your home, we're going to look at least 5 homes that have sold, and I'm also going to show you active homes and homes that are pending. Now, we can't know what those pending homes will ultimately close for, but I also can call agents and get some more information. So I'm seeing the top dollar in your neighborhood is selling at, let's just make it up, $230 a square foot, but your home would price out at $280 a square foot, which is extremely higher than the average in the market. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So when you say you want top dollar and you say you can be ready as soon as, tomorrow, I'm just ripping here. Would you agree that if you went on the market and your price was that much higher than your neighbor's price, especially, please keep in mind, Luke, I think that we're in a transitioning market. Have you seen that at all? You've seen some homes that have been on the market for a while and their prices reduced? Yeah, yeah, you're not looking for that to happen, right? So I think it's really imperative because the only leverage that we really have is that first 5 days on the market, right? We have to hit the market. We have to make a great first impression to get agents to want to sell your home and come and show your home. And if we're way out of bounds on pricing, that may not happen.
Can I just interject?
Yeah.
one little thing?
Yeah.
It's really your show. I just think one strategy, one comment that you can make to a seller is when they really want to price it higher than you want, say, well, let's look at the data points that the buyers are going to be looking at when they're considering your home. And that really kind of is a gentle way of reminding them that buyers have access to a ton of information and
they're agents.
and they use it. And
And they're agents,
Karen sold two of my houses and she had that conversation.
I'm sorry?
Karen sold
Oh,
had that
yeah.
conversation. So,
Yeah, it's true. And right now, guys, I think it's more pertinent than ever that we have really hard discussions on pricing. So I got a little off track, but you see where we're going with the question. So for me and how we've been trained is that you never just stop at that first question. At that answer, you try and drill down and ask 2 to 3 more questions. And you're always like, may I ask you this? Please. And if you say that every time, it sounds a little canned, but asking for permission. And then when you really get stuck on something, if you get stuck on something, you can always lean back on, can you help me understand that?
Yeah.
Because I really do seek to understand so I can give you the best information. So, I mean, this is the kind of work that everyone should be comfortable with doing. And role playing, script practice, all those things are really important. I would get you signed. What?
It seems like everyone wants a basis, but how
Yes.
they're
And I will tell you, and this was a question I wanted to ask, for those of you that have listed a home in the last 30 days, 2 of you, last 30 days, what was your discussion on pricing like?
So one, they just listened. The other one was a little bit tougher, but I asked if we could, the projections were when they weren't gonna listen. So we wrote it in the contract that it would be a 10-day automatic price decrease.
Yes. Yes. Did you have a set price or a range?
We had it 5%.
Okay. Oh, great. And what about you?
Mine didn't go very well.
It did.
They sold me.
They sold you.
Yeah, I mean,
It happens.
their price was, and I told him, I was like, I think this is higher. But I told him you need to be willing to have a conversation. We need to be willing to have a conversation. In X days, if this and this happens about lowering, but
Yeah.
it's
So
it was it's a really small market though, so it was like tough to find comps. even.
right. And that
So
is
it was
yeah, getting the data can be so
Yeah.
hard sometimes. I'll just be really completely, what's the right word, vulnerable, honest, transparent. 2 of my listings in the last 3 months that did close were drastically overpriced. Drastically. And let me tell you, there's nothing worse than answering a seller's questions. Even though you had the conversation and you told them this is not my recommended price, but there are many agents that I trained with that were all about what we call buying the listing. They would rather have their sign in the yard and showing up on Zillow. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, because a lot of agents do business that way, right? It's one of those slippery slopes, right? You can take that listing and have every intent of following through and giving them what they want, and yet the market just absolutely is like, nope, sorry, not happening. And then you price reducing, then you're chasing the market the wrong way, and then you end up like I did, after 2 price reductions, and Tina was at the house, and Infinity closed it, thank God, Infinity. But getting an offer for $106,000 under the reduced price. Yeah. Now, we said no. Yes,
Quick question,
yes,
let's say like you role play, right? And
Yeah.
They're stuck on the price.
Yep.
Should you go deeper and ask them
yes,
why that price?
Yeah.
Let's say we sell your house for this price, what do you wanna do with this money? Do you go deeper?
that's funny, exactly.
Just, look, if I would think like a psychology, right, psychology, let's say I'm stuck on my price, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I wanna sell this price, I wanna make profit $70,000. But if somebody asks me, okay, $7,000, that's a nice profit.
As long as you don't have to pay capital gains.
Well, this is what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
like, is there other way to kind of go to the line and say, this is price is not, also not realistic, it's one. But second one, maybe if you got this money, maybe you wanna buy another house.
Right.
You wanna go to some college or whatever it is, so what's your purpose for that?
Well, so one of these examples, it was a house in Broadview Heights, and we got a great number. Like, let me just say, nobody had ever resold in the subdivision. We were first resale, so we had absolutely bookas in terms of comps. We were in the wrong school district for this area. It was Broadview Heights, North Royalton, but everybody wants Broadview Heights, Brecksville schools. So we had the next black X, right? So we had 2 black X's, and then the seller wanted to be over $1 million. In a development where nobody had ever sold and everyone had bought in the high 6, low 7 range. Tina was also at that house. Do you remember that? Do you remember? Yeah. So we started like just over $1 million, knowing that that was probably never going to happen. But if we could get in the 9s, that would be good. And we did end up selling it in the 9s, lower 9s. And these people were adamant. Now, this is what I would say. You said you got sold, and I got sold a little bit too. I did. I thought, well, what do all these people know? There are no comps. So actually, I'm going to use that to my advantage because nobody has ever resold. So who's to say? Let's let the market ultimately always decides, right? What a buyer is going to pay, what that agent is going to recommend the buyer pay, and then ultimately, is it ever going to appraise? Because that's another big problem. If you take an overpriced listing and you do get a contract and then you get to appraisal and you've got the 3rd black X and now, probably releasing the listing or they're firing you or whatever. So in that case, I would tell you that I took that listing knowing full well that the expectations of the seller were unrealistic. And I believed and proved to be correct that the market, unfortunately, would beat them down. Are we being recorded? The market would beat down by feedback. And that is what happened. And then we got to a more realistic price and then we sold. But it took a little time.
And I mean, I would say, so it's a really important, when you have this conversation, and I know that especially if you're a newer agent, it is really hard because you want this listing so much. But I do think that you have to have that data-driven conversation. You have to, go through the implications of listing considerably too high. You have fewer views, you have less traffic because of the way searches are set up. And then follow up that conversation with an email recapping that conversation. Because it's very easy for somebody to say, well, you told me, you could tell me, we could talk.
Did you?
Yeah. How long do you keep that price for the seller up there till you like try to negotiate like, well, it's not selling at this price. So how long do you keep it?
In the previous year we're in, if you were overpriced, I'd say if you didn't change your price within 2 weeks, you were kind of dead in the water. I now think that the market is just taking more time. It really is. I mean, there are some homes obviously are selling multiple offers. I was just in one in Bay Village. They had so many offers. My clients actually didn't even bother to write. They talked themselves out of writing because they just were like, I can't do this. And it was so highly priced, price per square foot, overall list price, but it was perfect. And so there is the adage that perfection gets a price. Yes, you have a question.
So have you found, so I found that even listing at the price that the client wanted, I think is fit, you almost need to be a little bit under.
Yes, I've always thought that, like forever. You can be slightly under, like, let's say you think something is really gonna sell, or let's just say 350. You'd be so much better off pricing it at 330, 325, because you will drive the multiples and they'll end up probably getting way over with tremendous offer terms. And whereas if you start at 350, you know, you might have a little bit more of a lukewarm response. So I feel like that's still a great strategy, but
Found that percentage, like,
I'm sorry.
have you found like how much under, like 1%, 2%?
It has to be, you know, within I'd say 5%. Yeah, where do you think it's gonna be?
Can I just ask a
Yeah.
question too?
Yeah.
How many of you, well, have been on a listing appointment and heard this line that we hear? Well, we can always
Adjust.
negotiate down, but we can't go up, which is,
It's true. It is a truism. No, I mean, I've had people say that to me.
Yeah.
Again, I lost a listing 3 weeks ago because I told them absolutely, there's no way I would ever list your property at the price that you want. And they were like, why? And I said, because every surface needs to be touched. Everything needs to be done. But my dad did it in 1970. Yes, your dad did it in 1970. It's not relevant to today's buyers. So, you know, I mean, I was pretty strong about it because I've had this happen now a couple times and I'm like, oh, I'm not going down that rabbit hole again, especially for such a lower price property where I just know I'm going to have 3 people to answer to, you know, all the kids on the trust, yada, yada, yada. And the siblings looked at me. I mean, they looked at me like I was just dead. They hated. I could tell when I walked in, so I just didn't care. Almost, I was like, oh, I don't get it. I'm gonna eat tomorrow. It doesn't matter.
but don't forget, your time is valuable.
Yeah.
And Laura didn't get into a situation where it was gonna, you know, take her valuable time.
Yeah.
And there's expense involved in listing.
They still haven't listed the property, which says a lot to me because people are getting calls, by the way, every single day. Homeowners, whether they're selling or not. I don't know. Are you all homeowners? Do you all get calls every single day about, do you want to sell your property? Now, yes, they're wholesale pricing, but I mean, there is no shortage of somebody calling a homeowner, asking them if they want to list their property. So people get buoyed up by that, even though you can't explain, yes, but they're giving you a wholesale price. And we're going to do so much better on the general market. I feel like I lost my way a little bit.
Denise,
But-
do you still have a question?
But just.
Right. Yeah.
Good way to ask like why there were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They need it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Why it's so,
Yeah.
why this number, yes.
Well, I think sometimes when you ask why questions exactly like that, if they can make a seller really defensive.
It depends on the.
Right. So maybe what is so like why
Yeah.
that side sounds,
Yeah.
what is so important to you about that $70,000 in particular? And then get, you know, and seek to understand and get that information from them and try and move people off of this, you know, hill that they're willing to die on. You know, when you have someone willing to die on a hill, you know, they're probably not going to be your easiest client. More questions? Yes.
You want to talk about short sales?
No.
Yes.
Yeah. I have very little experience in short sales. Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah, and again, when short sales were very prevalent, boy, that's another area. If you want to become an expert in something, you could probably start looking into that now. Because I think we're gonna have that. I mean, the numbers say there aren't that many people in pre-foreclosure. It's not like, it doesn't appear to be what happened in 2008. The economy is definitely softening, right? But rates are still reasonably low. They're not low to anybody that was selling homes in 21 or even into 22. But, you know, from a historical standpoint, they're very advantageous still. But I know nothing about short sales other than a couple that I did ever sell. Oh my God, you can't put a closing date on them. It's all gotta be, factored in. What will the bank approve? Will they forgive? I don't know if they're gonna do what they used to do. They used to forgive the difference,
The
Yeah.
only reason I was thinking of that is that I've had a seller recently that was very nervous about telling me why he needed the money, and I thought, I hope we're not approaching, you got a mortgage pay off.
Yeah.
Higher than what we're gonna.
Yeah.
And that brings up a great point. This is not a listing class 101, but you can find out who is the decision maker. Like, is it the person you're even talking to? Or is it a trust where you have 3 people or 5 people or whatever? And then in the most gentle way possible, you have to ask them, what's your payoff? What's your mortgage payoff? Like, I think that's totally, relevant in the listing conversation to have, because that works towards your net sheet. Oh, the other thing that I do all the time now is I bring a net sheet with me. Because really, back to the $70,000, that means nothing really in the big scheme of things. What is their net going to be? And I work off the net sheet because that's the number that's most important to me.
Yeah.
What are they going to walk away with? And do they even understand the cost of selling?
Yeah.
Most people don't. They don't know that taxes are in arrears. And depending on the time of year that you're closing, you could have double the taxes, right, that you have to pay, et cetera. So we have to become really expert at calling.
Just to piggyback on that, Affinity Title has a wonderful net
They
sheet.
do.
on their
Yeah,
website.
they do.
You don't even need to print it out necessarily if you have a laptop or a tablet. You can pull it up digitally and show them right then. and
Or
there.
you could do what I do, which is bug Tina on the weekends, her net sheets. And she's on vacation.
What do you mean down the year? Different tasks.
I'm sorry?
Said it's different tasks. Yeah.
So let's, for example, let's say you're closing on June 30th or July 1st. You're a full year in arrears. Because generally speaking, that escrow that's been being held to pay the second half of the previous year has not been delivered yet because the bill isn't due until like July 14th or something like that. So title has to take it no matter what, unless they can verify that the lender's paid it. Plus, you're in June, you've got to get all the taxes collected from January 1st through, June 30th. So it's a full year of taxes. Most people have no clue. And then the same thing happens again at the end of December. So, apparently the whole tax in arrears is due to a 100-year ago courthouse fire.
Oh, is that one?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's really straight lore, but that's what I was told. Yeah,
And legend.
yeah, a little bit of my time,
Is it
even
just
though
in
I'm
a
getting
certain
close.
area that this is happening?
Pardon me,
Is it just in a certain area that this is happening?
what do you mean,
Is
taxes?
it a certain city that they're having the arrears?
No, it's across,
Everywhere.
yeah, every, yeah. So, yeah,
That's why, I know we're talking about sellers, I'm sorry. But I know we're talking about sellers today, but buyers don't understand when they get their first tax bill and it says it's for
Hey,
6 months.
you
before
owe
they-
$6,000.
We don't owe that because, we never lived in the house.
Right.
I had one, that didn't pay it and I
Oh.
got leave.
Well, it depends if they get it credited or if it's held in escrow, which is always that's another reason why we should always go to our clients' closings, whether it's a buyer or a seller. So I had a deal that I thought was at Infinity, because I wanted it to be, but it turned out it wasn't. This just happened yesterday. And the seller's in Massachusetts. It's the Fox Hollow house, Trish, closing tomorrow. And he calls me up. I swear to God, because the notary that they sent out came, and the notary's not allowed to answer any questions. They're just there to shove the papers across the desk and you sign it. So he must be like in the next room. And he says, there's somebody here. That title company sent them, and they don't know what the fuck they were talking about. And I'm not, that's what he said to me. And I'm not signing anything until somebody walks me through all these documents. So I said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Got off the call, called the rep at Ohio Real Title. Thank God she answered the phone, told her the situation. She called them. They don't pick up the phone. And then I called the title actual escrow officer and she was on the call with them. So she didn't pick up the phone, but I didn't know that. So anyways, went back and forth. and I'm texting because it's like, I know the notary's there. I'm in Ohio, they're in Massachusetts. I can't help them. I don't know 55 documents that they're gonna sign. So anyways, I think it's so important to attend every closing you can because you can first explain the closing process before you ever get to the table. So you're minimizing those issues, both on the buy and sell side, but also to be there as a support because the signing agent, that's not their job. Yes.
I think, I love what you're saying, and I appreciate it, and I would love for agents to be proactive and, to plan for SPT, send over the all to state.
Yeah.
For review, it's not an option to not review it.
Yeah.
So it's really important to review it, and it's probably, if you have the time, a great opportunity to pick up the phone right then and there and go through that with your.
With the client, yeah, absolutely.
If you can't make it to.
Yeah.
The actual closing itself, that's another way.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of agents don't do this. And I will tell you that my mentor in the business, who, she practiced real estate for 40 years. She didn't even want to see the Alta statement. Yeah, she was like, that's their business. I don't want to see it. And I was like, wait a minute. I mean, this is, you're getting to the end. This is the whole deal. If they don't sign, you're never getting paid. So
I think it's so important to like. It is the most important piece of paper that you will ever witness and review.
Yeah.
Because mission
right.
is on there.
Yeah.
And people make mistakes, people are human. This is your opportunity to check and make sure.
Yeah.
Nobody interpreted your escrow letter
Incorrectly. Yes.
And I just need everybody to understand that once everybody is paid, once the funds.
Yeah, there's no more money. There's no more money coming from Mr. Seller. Yeah. You have a question?
I didn't know not having somebody from our office, or if you were the agent for the client, not showing up at the closing was an option.
You're saying you go to every closing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was how we
Yeah.
were, what we were told
I mean,
from
it
the
really
beginning.
should. It is to
And
me,
if
it's
we
the most
can't make it,
important.
we're to make arrangements to have one of our other agents show up.
Yeah.
To answer questions if our clients have a question.
I mean, so you've advocated for your client the whole way through, you got them to the closing table, and then you're not there and you haven't explained the Alta to them at all. Like that's your job, So, and you're right, Tina, escrow letters mistakes do get made. And you're never, if it's on the shortfall or the other way, that would be terrible to be overcharging the client. But if it's on the short, that money is gone forever, never to be collected. Okay. Wow. Okay. So we're going to go back to my slide, and it basically says, you build rapport, through empathy and active listening. So the other thing is, we're shaking our head, never this, unless it's about the price. We're shaking our head on the price, and we're engaging that client, and we're making direct eye contact. And also, I love the disc profile because you want to mirror and match. So something that I think about often, I'm obviously a high eye. Some people I flip out. I come in the room and they're like, calm down. But if I'm with another, an S or a C, it takes 20 hours to review their paperwork. Those people cannot be pressured into signing a contract. That's just not how they operate. Or if you're with a high D, they just want to get to the bottom line. They don't want to have all your chit chat. They don't want to know about your dog and your kids. They really, so how do you engage those people to keep them off of their high D, profile? How do you move the S and C's a little bit more by building trust? And then the high I's who can overtalk it.
And I do think it's really important when you're meeting with a couple or however many people, very important to make sure that you're paying attention to both parties.
Yeah.
Don't make one feel like, oh, they're just talking to.
Yeah.
Jody. And another thing to kind of demonstrate active listening is, especially if you want some clarification, you know, what I hear you saying is, and then repeat what they're saying. Like,
Yeah. If I hear you correctly, you said you want the top price and that's the only. Yeah. And then help me understand why is that the only thing that, I mean, you just gotta wanna always try and move people off of their position. And that's not a sales tactic, it's just a communication, you know, method, basically. Okay, I think we've burned through that. Okay, so again, making an impactful connection, as thoughtful, ask open-ended questions. You don't want a yes or a no. That kind of leaves you like, you know, okay. If she gets answers with a no, you know, that's not good, right? Although a yes would be better. Demonstrate understanding of their goals. And I always remind my clients, hey, look, I'm here to be your trusted advisor. This is not my house. We're not selling my house. I'm selling your house with you or partners. So I have to totally understand, how do you want to be communicated with? What is the cadence? Do you want to be texted? Do you want to be called? Obviously, we're going to call with offers and things like that, or problems arise, you know, but some people do one form of communication over the other. Some people don't even open emails. So, you know, you just got to find out what it is that they want. And I literally write all that stuff down in my notes. And we're really big on how does Amanda put it? Memorializing. Amanda's British. We must memorialize every contract because God forbid you got it wrong and it comes back on you, and you don't want to make those kind of mistakes.
And when you go to a core law class, they will keep telling you, email,
Yeah.
call, pick up the phone. They hate that when you memorialize in text.
Yes, which happens all the time,
Important things should.
especially between agents. Happens all the time. Who wants to be bothered to write an email? But it's really important.
It's for your protection.
And even after a phone call.
Yeah.
Follow up with,
Yeah.
per our conversation today, well,
I'm not saying you can never text.
yeah, this is not meant to be a law class, but just especially if you're newer in the game, you know, you want to protect yourselves because we're in a highly litigious business. Anybody ever been sued in the room? You didn't like that question? I haven't, but you know, it's coming. And I feel it'll happen, right? Do enough business, it'll happen. I'm sorry? Did you say?
No.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, got it. So you want to align your expertise with their needs. And again, using that disc profile is so helpful to really figure out who you're sitting across the table. And you could just tell, do they lean in? Are they back? Do they keep their eyes on? Like, can they look at you? Are they soft voiced? All those things. If you have never taken a class on the disc profile, I think it's a great tool. Every salesperson, but especially every real estate agent should look into. Any questions? You guys bored? You seem a little low energy, like you're not really into this. Okay, Karen,
So that was, like I said,
that's our last slide. Wow. You get out of jail early. You made it. Do I go over them with the client? No. Do you go over what your expectations for your meeting? No, we didn't talk about that at all, but I certainly can. Okay, so see how I started the class. Who in here wants to make? I hope everyone's hand goes to yes. And back to listings, how do you control your destiny financially in real estate? Having a listing-based business, exactly. Because as we all know, everything is negotiable. Everything is negotiable. And let's say everything has always been negotiable. My listing agreement when I started out was pre-printed with the commission that my company was charging. I was not allowed to reduce commission without a manager like from heaven coming down and saying, okay, you can do that. That's true. Now, I know they're saying what they say, but you know, so anyways, depending on the broker that you're with, they may have certain expectations. A lot of them used to have minimum commissions. So for example, if you took a $60,000 condo listing, guess what? I have one coming live this week, $60,000, but I put in a minimum commission because I know I'm going to spend X number of hours on that property. And if I was going by 3 bananas, talking bananas here, if I was going by 3 bananas and I sold it at 60,000, that's $1,800 gross, right? It's not a great paycheck. So I put in a minimum commission and I explained to the client why I was doing it. And there was no issue. She didn't bat an eye. I think when you discuss your fees, and I don't like to use the word commission, by the way.
Yes,
I don't like to use the word commission. I use the
Please.
word compensation or my professional.
professions.
Yeah. And so I would say something like my professional fees happen to be 3.5%. Watch everyone in the room go. Because no one's doing it, right? But why not? What do you think you're worth?
I have been, since August of last year, I generally have been bifurcating my professional fee with whatever compensation we might offer an agent who brings a buyer.
So that's what I'm asking, like for your total commission.
You can't give them a total or compensation or professional fees because you don't know what the offers are going to come in and what they're going to be asking. So a good example is, let's say that you've had the discussion and they're okay with 6 bananas. You would be taking 3 and you would be giving the buyer's agent 3. But let's say it's a tough market and you get an offer and it's full price and they're asking for 4 bananas because that is going to happen. It is going to happen as that market shifts. Yes? Someone have something to say? No, I said bananas. Yeah,
Yeah,
I said
we don't-
bananas, sorry. Yes, so let's just say you get an offer in and they're asking for 4 bananas. And you're like, and the seller's like, "Oh, I'm not paying more than 6 bananas. And this is the only offer you have." I mean, you have to be really careful, I think, to explain to them, we have to wait and see what the offers, how the offers come in, what agents are asking for their professional fees, and we have to parse through all the offers to see what your net is going to be on all of them, and then you make your decision.
So when you're doing your net sheet, how many bananas are you putting on? your-
I'm only putting my fees. I'm only putting my
Give them
fees in,
Expected,
and I have that conversation, because this has happened, I can say with total clarity, look, we could get offers, because it's happened, that they're asking for 0 bananas, because they want the house so badly. The buyer's already, they're in a multiple, the buyer's saying, I'll pay my own agent, so my offer nets out that much higher. I mean, I've had that happen. Or a partial, the buyer might ask for 1 banana and they're paying their agent the other 2.5 or 2 or whatever it might be. That's happening. I'm seeing people asking for more bananas than I've ever seen because if they feel like they have the traction to do so because the house has been on the market for a while, like buyer agents all of a sudden get really like, hey, you're going to pay me. You want this house sold, you're going to pay me more. That's going to happen more and more and more as if the market contracts. And conversely, when you're in a multiple, your offers better be, really clean. And then you have to have that conversation with your buyers, because my fees are X number of bananas and, your offer might not be a standout offer. Are you willing to do anything? Do you want to change anything about that? So I think the NAR settlement is a blessing in so many ways because it puts those conversations front and center. You can't not have them. And the more comfortable you get with discussing your fees and knowing that you're totally worth what you're asking for, it's just easier to talk about.
thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I love interaction. Do we have any questions out there? Because we're at the end of our slides.
This is totally off topic and I'm
Well, you can see, we like to go on time.
just curious to know, 20 years in business, how you transition to a team. You just talk more about the team dynamic because
So I was a solo agent. I was always with one broker with the exception of that little blip where the broker I was with got divorced from my client and I stayed with my client. But I went back to that broker. So in end of 2018, I had my best year ever in 2017. And I'm really proud to say I hit six figures for the first time. I had my license since 2006. So it was a long way. You know, I said I could write a book, how to make six figures, take 40 years. So it was a long way, right? And I was really stuck on that number, like you're stuck on your 70,000, right? I was like, I don't want to go backwards. And in 2018, I had a really good year, but I was going to be slightly lower in compensation total than I had been in 2017. And I was very bummed out about that. And I don't know about any of you, because really our lives don't change at the end of a calendar year, right? We always have to have business in the pipeline. It's not like it's any different in May than it is in December. But for me personally, at the end of the year, I really reflect on that year and I'm already thinking about the next year ahead. And I remember thinking, God, I'm going backwards, even though it's a little bit, I'm going backwards and I don't know how to get unstuck. And so ironically, Amanda and I had a transaction that year, like, I don't know, in September or something. And she called me, but you know, we recruited all the time. I think it's safe to say you're doing any kind of business, somebody's calling you once a week or sending text recruiting you. And so that's just the nature of the business. And I hated the thought of being recruited. And I knew Amanda and I thought, well, maybe she's not just recruiting me. So anyway, she had called and left me a voicemail and I never called her back ever. This is like 3 months went by and not, but it was just timing, you know, it was just like in my head. So I gave her a call and we made an appointment to meet. And she came over and I believe in being, you know, transparent and vulnerable. And I told her, like, I had a good year. It's not bad. I'm not embarrassed, but I don't like the trend. You know, it took me so long to get here. I don't want to start going backwards. It's not like I took my foot off the gas. I don't know what's happening. And looking into 2019, I have no idea if I'm ever going to sell. I said that to her. And, you know, as any good agent and leader and recruiter would do, she was like, oh, that's nonsense. Of course, you'll sell another home, but, you know, I can help you. And I can help you in all these ways. And so after that conversation, I had to think about it. And I know Karen will probably say the same. You know, people talk about, well, I don't want to give up X number of bananas to join a team. And look, whatever is good for you, you should do. Solo agents are great. I was one for 13 years. I've made more money, and that could be timed to the market also. You know, I'll have to say that might have something to do with it. But I made more money as a team agent than I ever did as a solo agent. And part of that is leads and leverage. You know, those are the two biggest factors for me that changed my financial trajectory. When you have somebody, you know, legitimately giving you good leads, and then you still have all of your business that you're organically working on your website, whatever you're doing to bring people to you. When you add another source, you know, you're going to do more business and make more money. But it's not for everybody. You know, there's parts of it. But what I was going to get at, sorry, is that instead of looking at what I was giving to the team, I had to look at, will I be netting, just like the seller's net sheet, will I be netting more money if I go this way? And only you can answer that. For me, it was, I could net more money. I didn't know if I would, but I knew the opportunity to net more money was there. And I took it, and honestly, it's been 6 years. I've never looked back. I've never once thought of leaving, starting again, changing brokerages, becoming a solo agent. I'm so happy where I'm at. You know, it would take something really drastic for me to want to go back. But that's just my story. Your story.
100% confirm Laura's assessment of the situation. I wasn't a six-figure gal, but I was a high five-figure gal before I met Amanda. Wasn't interested in leaving. Was convinced by some mutual friends, oh, you have to meet Amanda. after one meeting with Amanda, I never heard of her. before. But I am in such,
Howard, she's
Yeah.
a visionary.
I just went home and I said to my husband, like, gosh, I think I owe it to myself to continue the conversation with her. And it's, it's the support, it's the leverage, it's the environment. I'm not only better professional for being on this team, I'm a better human being for being on this team. And the opportunities that we're given to just thrive and grow. And so again, don't look at what you're giving to your team financially.
Yeah.
Kind of look at what's coming.
What can you get back? There's an agent in our world, and she said, would you rather eat a grape or have a big juicy slice of watermelon? Something like that. Making the point that sometimes you can get a lot more by joining with the team, but I'm not here to sell anything on anything. Like, you have to make that decision. And I will say one thing, no matter what you do, hold real estate license in the state of Ohio, you can always make a living. And so if something doesn't work out for you, you make that change, it doesn't work out, you are literally, to me, no worse off to pivot and not go back, but return to being a solo agent with whatever you choose.
Yeah, I
Choose
did,
your brokers wisely, because they should be helping.
yes, I didn't mean to, poo-poo. So
No,
it
solo agents are awesome. We were so,
just happens to work
yeah,
for us. But
Yeah.
yes, be in a supportive environment as a whole.
just, I think the biggest thing for me is I always want to be tied to somebody, whether it's my team leader, my broker, a manager of your office, if you're in a different, corporate setup, that is leading me and bringing me to new ideas and teaching me not just the core skills that we're talking about here, but really looking at the market as kind of a visionary, because the market is ever changing. The real estate market that we're in is ever changing. And then the employment of being a realtor is ever changing. And I think it's so important. We cannot rest on, what we did last year, all the skills that we have. We have to constantly be honing those and working towards getting better and learning new things. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry about the going solo, but it's really great being here. We hope you liked
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you got my right?
Yes. Yeah.
What'd you make?
Thank you. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not executive.
Okay. Yeah, I know, we gotta get out of here.
So you're not,
I'm not gonna make it. I gotta be. So.
Yeah.
But that's not why I said.
Janet?
And, they're trying to get stuff together, I come on back in like. Yes, SCA. Yes. That is. You guys did it. Thank you so much, I appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
Hi, great. Got it, so, yeah, yeah. Yes, and you want. So I did it. Yeah. So he did. I think. What on Wednesday from the. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. It's not a license. It's talking. I just did it like a part-time for a long time. Trying to full time. Well, I do have two listings coming out, or one is family and one is like sort of my best friends. So I don't really feel like, I feel like I need to be like, designing was no me, like, let's be that casual. Yeah, I want it to be a little, like she said, it's. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's a really. Oh, no, they did. Yeah, it's. Okay. Okay. And they can't put her in. Oh. Yeah. Like a speedy, even like these people will have like that. That's my. So kind of extremely something like, oh, this. Like.